More medications, less health. Something's broken. Traditional medicine manages symptoms, but true healing addresses root cause. I'm Josh Rimany, pharmacist turned healer. At Beyond the Pills, we merge ancient wisdom with modern-day science to inspire you through stories of transformation, practical trainings, and holistic healing. Join me and other practitioners as we guide you towards vibrant health, body, mind, and spirit, and move beyond symptom management into true healing. Welcome back to Beyond the Pills, where we meet soul and wisdom, and ancient wisdom meets modern science for true healing. I am Josh Rimany, pharmacist turned healer. Today's guest is not just a thought leader in functional medicine. He's way more than that to me, especially. He's a dear friend. He's one of my mentors and someone I deeply align with, especially on the mission of transforming healthcare. Sachin Patel. He's a father, he's a husband, a philanthropist, a functional medicine success coach, speaker, author, breathwork facilitator, and plant medicine advocate. He's founded the Living Proof Institute, pioneering a revolutionary patient-centered approach to healthcare. And through his Perfect Practice mentorship, Sachin has coached hundreds of practitioners, including me, empowering them to deliver affordable, inspired care to communities. He's also the author of Living Proof and The Perfect Practice as books, and the visionary behind the Metabolic Reset, which I think is now called the Living Light Program, which we're proud to use in our own practice. Sachin believes that the doctor of the future is the patient. And his life's work is dedicated and has been to helping people raise their consciousness, activate their inner doctor, and reclaim their deepest healing through lifestyle and breath work. We're going to dive into a lot of that and more. I am so excited to share this conversation with one of my beautiful soul brothers. Welcome to the show, Sachin.
Josh, thank you. What an honor and divine timing that we're having this conversation. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for all the work that you've done on yourself. It's been magical to witness your evolution, and I'm so grateful and for you and your friendship. And I'm really proud of you kind of really stepping into your higher self. It's beautiful to witness. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Starting with a gratitude. I can't even get any better than that. Let's dive in. You know, your mantra is the doctor of the future is the patient. It's one of them. I call them Sachinisms. You probably got a book full of them now. What does that really mean to you, and how has it shaped your life's mission?
Thank you for asking. You know, when we really think of the healthcare crisis that we have right now, we're really approaching it from the wrong angle and very short-term thinking. So we're in a reactionary medical model, right? Or even insurance companies, you have to meet their sickness criteria to be considered sick enough to get the care that you need. And so for years, people kind of bounce around looking for answers and not getting any. And so that's not a system that I want to be part of. I don't want to be the eighth person somebody has seen and tell them something that they probably should have learned when they were 2 years old. Because what happens is when we think of the solution isn't more doctors, more hospitals, more pills, more supplements, more functional medicine practitioners, more holistic practitioners. That's not the solution any of us actually wants, right? I never want my son to have to see the most holistic, natural healer. I want him to never have to see that person in the first place because he knows how to unlock his own healing capabilities. And that doesn't mean we'll never need other people to help us and support us and, friends and communities that are part of our medicine. But what I've discovered through many journeys, through the healthcare system, through coaching practitioners, through the education system, through plant medicine, is that the ultimate medicine is us. Like we are the ultimate elixir of life. And the problem is we're not teaching people what ingredients are required to, create that formulation, that recipe. And so even when we look at our healthcare system, it's waiting way too long, which means that, it takes 30, 40, 50 years to destroy somebody's health. It doesn't happen overnight, right? And now maybe a decade or two, you're seeing really young children being sick. Our bodies are so resilient. It takes 30, 40, 50 years to destroy our heart, for example. And I can only imagine what that person's quality of life would be like if they had known how to take better care of themselves and lived closer to, who they really are. And that's the ultimate medicine of life, is to become who we truly are. And when people are going through their life for 40, 50 years, not knowing how to eat, not knowing how to breathe, not knowing what type of exposure to sunlight they should have, not knowing the healing power of nature, right? Not knowing the simplest things that activate their own medicine, to me, that's criminal. And so if we could teach people how to be their own doctors and teach them how to be self-aware, there are literally thousands and thousands of healing opportunities in every single day to shift our health in the right direction.
Hmm.
So, so many things in our lives, every decision in our life is a fork in the road. Every breath is a fork in the road to determine how we want to feel and how we want to function. So we have literally thousands of opportunities every day to refine and fine tune our health. We just have to know what those inputs are. So a big example here would be, what is our relationship with the indoors versus the outdoors, right? And by knowing the difference that being outdoors versus indoors makes, can be a massive elevation in our quality of function, but very passive at the same time. So I know you try to spend as much time outdoors as possible. I try to spend as much time outdoors as possible. And so we're bathing in our own medicine, right? The sun is activating our own medicine for hours and hours every day versus somebody who doesn't have that awareness. So there's so much healing potential that all of us possess. And I believe that because of our lifestyles and our environments, most of our DNA is dormant. So we don't even truly know who we are because we don't even fully activate our inner blueprint and our potential. So that's the world I want to live in. I want to live in a world where, the age of infirmary, timeline of infirmary is very short, right? I want to live in a world where people are healthy, happy, and closer to their fullest potential, because that's just the world that I think needs to exist right now.
Such a beautiful way to open these conversation. I was reading something about how we call it junk DNA, and it's all this DNA that they don't know anything about. It's not activated. There is no junk DNA. It's all for purpose, but we just haven't figured it out yet. You're right. Like, there's so many activations that can be happening. You've taught me, or at least reminded me, because we're always on that same level. I feel like every time I'm thinking of something, you're on the internet and you're talking about it at the same time. I was like, I just thought that. It's so fun because we're connected in that quantum world, right? But what you talking about is these timeless practices, right? To unlock not just body health and mind health, but spiritual or energetic health. Like, you talk the blueprint, right? Changing that blueprint. And for my shamanic energy work, like, that's what they say in the shamanic world is like, you don't have to, when you want to like fix something in your body, or let's just make the analogy of, if you want to add a room to your house, you can bulldoze everything, buy all the ingredients, build it all the way up. But if you change the energetics of the body and you change the blueprint of the house, the room already appears. And I think that's kind of the analogy I've been using a lot is, if we're looking upstream, because that's kind of how functional is, downstream, upstream health, right? But if we're acting in these spaces they're underneath all of that, like you talked about breath work, being out in nature, all these simple, timeless things where blue zones have been doing them forever, right? And now we're talking about blue zones losing their blue zone activity because of Kentucky Fried Chicken in the middle of Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica. So we've forgotten the things that have gotten us so much vibrant health. And I think that's what I appreciate about you and what I've learned so much is these timeless, simple things that are low cost or no cost really are the drivers of health.
Hmm. I 100% agree. Da Vinci, I think, said it best. Steve Jobs echoed it. And I know you and I are trying to carry that torch and flame forward. And that is that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And so if we kind of flip that, we ask ourselves, what's the most sophisticated system that we know of? I would like to think it's the human body.
Yes.
And by that kind of context, it should be super simple, right? If our bodies were challenging and difficult and impossible to take care of, that immediately eliminates them from being sophisticated. So once you start looking at life through that lens, you start realizing that the inputs should be either passive or embarrassingly simple. So people who live in blue zones they weren't trying to live to 100, right? They were just living in closer congruence to what our biological blueprint requires, right? For example, we are outdoor plants planted indoors. And so try planting an outdoor plant indoors and tell me what happens to it, right? You're going to think it's the soil. You're going to think it's the pot. You're going to think it's the nutrients, but it's just not getting enough sun,
It's just it. It is its
right?
being, right? It's not in congruence with the reality of what it's supposed to be.
Right. So
Yeah.
now imagine having the scientific awareness that we have now and applying it, right? So they live to 100 by accident, but we can live to 120 with intention. And it's by doing the timeless things, right? I believe that we're born across multiple timelines. So if I'm going to acquire any skill to take with me through those multiple rebirths and timelines, then it's going to be how to take care of myself, right? And so activating that blueprint becomes my top priority in life because if if I want to be if I have if somebody has 6 out of 10 health, they can't be an 8 out of 10 dad. They can't run a 9 out of 10 business, right? Our health sets the ceiling for what our capability and capacity is to deliver our fullest potential to the world. And so embarrassingly simple things. So we start asking ourselves, that chipmunk, it doesn't think about, getting morning sunlight. It doesn't think about grounding. It doesn't think about, finding shelter and safety and staying in that space, right? And being present in each moment because it only has the present, right? So we can learn a lot just by observing a chipmunk that doesn't develop the diseases that humanity does, right? Until we take them and put them into captivity. We are wild animals in captivity. So there's so much of us that remains to be unlocked. And I spent a lot of time outdoors. So in August, I spent a total of 7 days completely outdoors, no screens, no nothing. And guess what? You're activating features in your body that you didn't know you had, right? You're pressing buttons,
Yep.
right, to express genes that you didn't even know existed. And you come back and your face looks different. You look at the world differently. People see you differently. Your energetic aura changes. And so it's simple things. And usually they're immersive. So if we just go back to remembering who we are, right, we're outdoor plants, wild animals, indoors in captivity. Right. That should paint the contrast for people to realize, oh, if I spend more time outdoors, if I connect my feet to the earth, if I slow down my breath, if I spend the right time of day outdoors at different times of the day, I can rewire or reset all the clocks in my body. Right. Embarrassingly simple things to do that are also embarrassingly simple not to do, which is the paradox of this whole journey of health that people go on.
Yeah. And there's so much to dive into on that because it's it's beautiful wisdom. When we're talking about these things, it's we are li- it's like the opposite of the placebo effect, right? We're unlocking the body's innate ability. Like you said, our bodies are the most complex organisms on the entire planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know about the universe, but in the planet, right? And we still only use 5 to 10% of this brain of ours. However, we're unlocking these things through the technologies and the things that we're learning to, like you said, with intention, we could live to 120. We'll talk about your biological age and my biological age versus chronological later. But I want us, these things are simple, but sometimes not easy, right? Like you said, things get in the way. Somebody says they don't have time for that. And what I've learned through you and through this process, especially when you take practitioners through this, is when you're in this space of becoming your own doctor, unlocking the pharmacist or the pharmacy within you with these chemicals that already can happen and be already managed through thought and through all these other ways. We're seeing the science of that. But now I always have this do you first principle. And I think your book is living proof, right? You're living proof of who you are and what you do. And I think one thing I admire most about you is you do practice what you preach in a very high percent. Like almost, I don't know anyone else in the universe to date that when they say they do something, it's done. So
I love you, brother.
I want to talk about this because I teach pharmacists nationwide and they think they're selling wellness, but they're not being wellness. And I know this is a hurdle, but I believe like you don't become a healer or in wellness because it's just your vocation, your profession. It's like part of who you are. I want you to speak to that because I've learned a lot with that and through you, but there's an essence to that I think we need to explore and unpack a little.
Thank you. So I'm going to talk about plant medicine, specifically ayahuasca, if I may.
Sure. We both have that connection as well.
Yeah. It's profound medicine, and it's your time when you're called to it. So this isn't like, I'm not trying to pitch it to anyone. In fact, I resisted ayahuasca for many years because I knew it was in my timeline. I just didn't know when.
Me too.
And when I got the call, it was actually I'll share this funny story because it's memorable. I was sitting with a buddy of mine and he's like, dude, we got to go. And I was able to go to Arrhythmia. Works out, it was on my birthday, my 47th birthday. And when I went in the journey, like one of the lessons that came back for me was to remember who we are. So what happens in life is when we're born, we're naked, right? And we're not a blank slate, we're a clean slate. So we're born without even the awareness of who we are. When a baby first sees its own hand, it can barely see it, first of all. It doesn't even recognize that that's its hand. It doesn't have the awareness because it's everything and nothing at the same time.
Yes.
And so when we go back to that state, which medicine can take us to, breath work can take us to, what I see is we're all these golden statues and just pure gold, pure light, pure bliss. And we come into this world and then we're labeled, right? We get a name. We get, oh, Josh is so kind. Josh is so this. Josh is going to be this when he grows up. Josh is going to be like that. Josh isn't like this, right? So we start putting on these layers and layers and layers. And some of those layers are pretty close to the chest, right? And some of them, are built out. So we're wearing like 100 shirts at the same time and walking through life thinking we know who we are. But we can't see through those 50 shirts who we are when we look in the mirror, right? We just see all those layers and all those stories. So when we can take people back to that zero set point, it allows us to truly remember who we are and why we're here. And some people will recognize this either at some point before they die or perhaps when they die, because from what I understand, it's almost like a death experience. So when I did my journey, I actually buried, I had a little funeral for myself, right? And I put my shirt on my mattress and I said, okay, this is the old me, right? We're celebrating that life. And now with the awareness, with the lessons, with the consciousness, with the physical body, with the mental capacity, with the network, with the community, with my friends, now I get to build a whole new life with this awareness. And so when we can get to that point, then what we realize is that the only way to light the fire in others efficiently is to light it in ourselves first. And so if I were to, I go camping, I know you go camping. When you go camping, it's easy if you have a lighter, right? But if you have to start a fire from scratch,
Hey,
it's
I'm
a
a
lot
Boy
more
Scout. It
difficult.
was really freaking hard. Trust me.
it's it's very challenging, right? So it's going to be hard for us to light somebody else's fire unless we have that fire inside of us. And so part of lighting that fire is first understanding who we are. And most
Mhm.
people have either forgotten or have never known who they are. And so if they can do something that gets them to that point, it's completely life-changing and transformational for people. And again, you'll know when you're called. For me, so my buddy was telling me, we got to go, we got to go. I said, I'm not feeling called. I'm not feeling called. That same day, RFK released a video about plant medicine. And I was at the event that he was speaking at. And there was only one shot that they took of the audience. And it's about 4.5 minutes in the video. And it was a picture of me at my table. So I knew I was called. The next time I was going was the weekend of my birthday. So this year, when I turned 47, I was like literally reborn. And it's like you're learning how to walk, like crawl and walk and all of those things, but in a different dimension in this same lifetime.
Yeah.
So you've got the physical capacity, you've developed all those things, but now you're learning how to walk with the awareness that you have now. So I feel like that's, if I could pass anything along, it would be that is it's so much easier to light somebody else's fire if you've got that fire already lit inside of you. It's like a candle lighting another candle.
Well, it's the same adage of like be the change you want to see changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the walk in a deeper level, and you said before is like when I did my 21 days in Peru and I sat with the healers and I did my own integration and walked the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. I was with myself the whole time. No phones, no, not just me, like doing all those nature things we talked about, but really going deep after my journeys into that space. And when I came back, it was the same thing. I literally had people going, "You look different." Like not
Mm-hmm.
in a like, "Oh, you look like something about you, your hair's different." No, it was like they were like, "What?" My wife was saying, like, "What is wrong with Josh? He looks so amazing. He's glowing. Like everything I'm glowing." Because that was it. It was this rebirth, but in a way where it was like it's kind of a defrag, but like in a
Mm-hmm.
way that was natural, right? It was challenging. You know it. It's like it's not this puppy dog and ice cream thing. It was pretty challenging. Probably one of the most challenging things I've gone through. And I've gone through cancer as a kid. So it was one of those things where because I had put those masks on, all those layers had been accumulated. And like you said, in consciousness, it's like the first question is, who am I? And the first thing people say is, well, I'm a pharmacist. I went to school, I have 2 kids, like all those labelings doesn't really get to the essence of your being. And I think that's what you so eloquently talked about because that's wholeness, that's
Mm-hmm.
authenticity, that's purpose.
I have a really good download and I want to say it. Who you truly are is all the things you can't take with you.
Mm.
I can't take my wife with me, can't take my son with me, can't take my car with me, can't take my work with me, can't take my degrees with me. When I am naked, right, of this body, that's who I am. And so it's all the things you can't take with you, that's who you are. And that
That's
makes it really easy.
I call it the soul print, right? It's like who you are. And yes, I believe we're in a multi-dimensional timeline here. So yes, I love that. It's like why not teach myself what I can bring to the next life about how I can take care of myself because I don't have to repeat that ancestral trauma or pattern because we're bringing this out how many generations behind us, right? I'm a
Yeah.
big believer of breaking ancestral traumas and challenges as
Yeah.
you
And,
are.
one of the greatest ancestral traumas is imprinting what an unhealthy lifestyle looks like to a child because we normalize, not doing the right things. And, it could be ignorance, right? There's certain things I wish I knew, right? When I thought I was doing my best, there are certain things I wish I knew then that I know now. So it's not about pointing fingers without, first pointing them at myself. So I think it's important for us to kind of recognize that, you know, um, and that discovery of who we are is the greatest gift that we can give to the people around us and future generations, because our children don't listen to what we tell them, right? They pay attention to what we show them. And so the fastest way to change the health of the next generation is to start with ourselves, right? And then model that. I love working with families who have young children because we can model it to them,
Mhm.
and then it becomes their way of life, right? As opposed to, modeling the wrong thing because we lack the knowledge or the awareness or the discipline, whatever the case may be, and then impregnating that's okay. So we can change all the future generations. We have an obligation, right? I tell
Yeah,
myself,
I agree.
the question that I ask myself is when I'm making a decision is, would my future generations be grateful, and would my past generations be proud? And so it becomes really easy to make decisions when you look at every single decision in life that way, right? So you're talking about discipline, you're talking about, and I'm not perfect. I don't pretend to be. I don't expect anyone else to be. But you are probably right that I am very, I'm probably like 98%. Um, so, but because I understand what I'm going for, right? What my objective is. And, I want to light a fire, not just a candle inside of me, so that I can light as many fires in other people as possible.
Well, I think you have. There's not many people that I have conversations with on a regular basis where I know future generations will appreciate that legacy, and you're definitely one of them. So, um, let's talk about your books. I got them here. Here's the recent one. Here's the one I read many moons
Wow.
ago, and how I got attached to you. I think this is an OG version too.
It is a
Um,
collector's edition.
it might have even been. It's not signed by you, but I know where to find you now. Um, talk about. Let's talk about perfect practice a little bit, because this world is changing. Healthcare is changing. The systems are crumbling right now. Whether you talk pharmacy, healthcare, you're in Canada, I'm in, in the United States. The bridge builders are now here, bridging this new systems. And I think, and you're high D, high I, high visionary, like we're very similar people. But
Hmm.
you saw this long time ago, but you knew what the stop gaps were, because doctors, pharmacists, chiros, wellness practitioners, most of them are really crappy business people. They don't know how to actually do the things they want to do. They just want to help people, right? But there's a science behind that. And I think what I learned the most from the beginning from you is, how do I attract clients? How do I run a business from the perspective? I already ran a pharmacy. That's not terribly difficult comparable to what you were teaching, which is, moving a 7-figure business in a healthcare system that's completely paid for on a cash model. Like, you broke the system from a standpoint of, you saw what you needed. But what I love about you, Sachin, is you also know how to get to the pieces to get there. And that's generally what I thought perfect practice helped me with so much, was you had a template, a blueprint for success. So talk to people a little bit about what you do for, let's call them practitioners. I don't really like that name much more. These guides that you have that are, they're doctors, they're pharmacists, they're health coaches. You're teaching them a system, right?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to share about this, because it's what's kind of alive for me right now, or really are alive, not kind of alive. It's really alive in me right now, because what I've learned over the years is there's a few things that hold, this entire profession back, and it's not clinical outcomes. And that's what everyone's chomping at the bit about, is they're trying to prove themselves from a clinical standpoint. So I've already accepted that I can produce superior results to compared to a multi-trillion dollar system in a fraction of the time for a millionth of the cost. So I already know that. Now what I need to know is how to get other people to be educated and understand that there's something out there that can actually help them. And the irony in it all is that it's actually them, right? Like that's the ultimate irony is, we have people looking all over the place for answers when they are the answer. And it's just how the universe works, right? Where else would you expect it to be? Like everywhere else but you, right? The answer is you. And so now we just have to get people to understand that. And so we've been proving it literally over and over and over again that, we have a framework that can help people heal exceptionally quick. So at first, I used to teach practitioners how to build their practices. And then we would share the resources and white label the resources that we have for them. And now what I realized is that we're all kind of putting the same message out there, but through 100 different businesses or 500 different businesses. What if we could have a unifying program that is proven to work, literally 100% money back guaranteed to work, which no other program I know gives you in the healthcare space, collects more data than most other programs that are out there at a fraction of the cost, right? I get excited to be able to license what we do to practitioners and centralize all of their pain points, centralize, printing materials and shipping them to their clients, centralize inventory management and having to manage all the kits to deliver the program. We have taken care of all of those things and basically lubricated the slide in such a way that a practitioner can start implementing this program within 30 days or they don't pay. That's our guarantee. So if we don't implement this and get them up and running in 30 days, it doesn't cost them anything. So we've basically taken and created the most efficient way to get a proven program, which has literally hundreds and hundreds of testimonials and thousands of clients using it. We have all of that at our disposal for practitioners. So instead of them having to build their whole business model and build all the assets and build all the sales pages and build all the funnels and build all the marketing materials, we've completely centralized that process. And now we call that living light. So we're taking what we've already proven to work clinically, and then we're offering that to our clinicians so that they can implement it. They don't have to reinvent the wheel.
And it's the do it for you approach, right? It's this place because a lot of wellness practitioners, it's like we moonlight until we can get to a place like, oh, I work in the ER, but I'm really into this. But this is paying my paycheck. I've had so many conversations with providers that are they're so ingrained because and 100% of people that work in the spaces that we work now, which I call healing and transformation, have had a personal experience with it, whether it's themselves or someone very close to them that's guided them into helping other people. And the problem, because this is the beautiful entrepreneur in you, is like solving all the pain points. Like, I don't know how to do a funnel. I don't know how to track customers. I don't even know how to do this. It's like, oh, I've done it so long, so much. Let's just do it once, and let's repeat this down the line. And
it's very efficient too, because we only share what works. So there is very little trial and error for the practitioner, and that also means that if they're using similar copy and ads and marketing materials to what we're using and what we're sharing with them, then they're only getting strategies that actually work. Because one of the frustrating things about, running your own program or building your own program is A, building your own program, but B, how do you know it's going to work? And then how long is it going to take you to create substantial data to demonstrate that it works, to get the case studies, to get the video testimonials? If practitioners are using our system, or clinicians, however we want to refer to them, are using our system, then they already have all of that. They already have all the case studies. They already have all the testimonials. And we'll get theirs, and we'll even record the ones that they send us of their clients so they can use those as well. So we have so many different ways that we've eliminated the friction points for practitioners. No inventory. No, you actually don't even have to create any of the video modules because we've created them without our faces. And the branding is all living light, so it has nothing to do with me. my name or my wife's name is not even mentioned in there anywhere. So you get, these assets immediately deployed for you, and you have a fully baked, cake, right? Not just a countertop with all the ingredients on it, never having built a cake before or baked a cake before.
Well, I think it's important for the practitioners listening, wanting to implement programming, and it's great for like so many different places. I'm thinking like, it's not only pharmacists that I teach, it's, we teach this program, I send them straight to you. Like it's not something, but the gift that you have is you have given so much of this information out to people and clinicians. You are beyond a go-giver. Like the gift of this is when people are listening, this is like, no, it's this collective experience that you're sharing all this wisdom and information, and you've done all the hard work. You've failed, you've tried, you've failed, you've perfected, and all of a sudden it's like this is polished and it's
Mm.
implementable quickly. But that gift keeps giving because now we're in this collective modality where everybody's doing the same thing, which is creating that flywheel effect of once we get certain amount of percentage of clinicians and people moving through it, it's not like there's one answer, because within this program, you find your groove, you find the things that work, but there's time tested stuff within the modules that are happening.
It-
I don't know if this is the right place, and maybe you have some more comments on that, but I think people are asking, the question I always ask is, well, what is the program? What are we doing? Like, is there, what about, just want to say it, like, what about GLP-1s and all these things? Is like, we're talking about metabolic reset and living light, but it's a mind body thing. It's not just a body thing. And there's a lot to
and-
talk about because we haven't talked about it yet on this podcast, because we got to talk GLP-1s because they're so hot and everybody thinks they want them and yada, yada.
yeah, I think it's like most things. Everyone thinks they want them until they don't want them anymore. And, I feel like there's some amazing advances in medicine, right? It's pretty cool when you think about it, what we can do, how many lives have been saved, how many lives have been improved or extended in a meaningful way. Of course, I don't think that it helps us live to our fullest potential necessarily. And, when it comes to GLP-1, everyone's going to respond to them a little bit differently. Some people genetically are going to respond to them differently. Some people metabolically are going to respond to them differently. And I think that's a great conversation for somebody to have with their practitioner who, has presented both options.
Right.
Now, I find it really funny. Well, it's interesting, right? I'm not here to bash anyone or anything that they're doing because I don't know their whole story, right? And it takes that individual conversation to know what's best for you. Um, what I will say is there's 7,000 peptides your body makes. So if we want to do a peptide for every ill type of approach to healthcare, peptides aren't cheap. Last time I checked.
No,
So
especially not in this country. We spend 90% more on what it costs them to make it,
yeah,
and charge their own country.
right. And that's, and that's one peptide. And I understand there's a cascade effect. I totally get that. I did a GLP-1 interview with Dr. Jeffrey Bland, which I think everyone should watch. And maybe I can share that link with you. One of the things that he said that was really fascinating is that GLP-1 is activated in our, digestive tract by bitter tasting foods.
Yeah,
And
bitters.
bitter is something that we've removed from the flavor profile for most Americans. Most of the plants that we eat are bitter, but they've been hybridized or grown in such a way that they taste, that bitterness is
Well, it's the
eliminated or
alkaloids,
removed.
it's the terpenes, it's all the things that protect the plant from degradation and getting eaten. Those are the fun things that are actually good for us, right?
Yeah. And so those activate, this system in our body. A lot of people, I actually interviewed Dr. Navaz Habib about GLP-1s and the vagus nerve. And so many people's issues come from poor vagus nerve function.
Mhm.
And so if I just fix the GLP-1 component, that still leaves me, or an individual rather, with a broken vagus nerve. And so if your vagus nerve isn't working and you go on GLP-1s, then you're probably going to be more prone to constipation, more prone to gastroparesis, because the nerve that stimulates that function in your body wasn't working well in the first place. So I feel like it's really important that people take a global approach. And the Living Light program can be a very excellent and affordable first line defense. And I think that should be the first intervention for people before they take any medication or before they take any supplement for that matter. Right. So I'm not, one of the things that's really beautiful about this program is that we designed it in such a way that there was like 5 criteria that we put into it. So it had to satisfy these 5 criteria. It had to get results without needing any supplements. Now we have a metabolic spray that enhances results, but we get results even if people don't take it. They get better results if they do. I had to be able to give my clients a money back guarantee. So I had to know it was working. I had to be able to track outcomes. As practitioners, we should know this, that data is more valuable than oil, right? So that occurred in 2020. That's why all the biggest companies are tech companies now. It used to be oil companies. Now they're tech companies. So data has become more valuable. So how much data is your practice collecting? So we wanted to collect more data, which we do. We have a partnership with Aura Ring and Heads Up Health. So we're able to collect data on all of our clients, at least 20 different data points. And now we can use AI to monitor for trends and engage with the client if we notice certain trends. So we have data. The next, I wanted it to be able to be administered by a health coach. So that was another criteria. We wanted to make sure that literally anyone can offer this program, and we wanted to make sure that it was able to be able to deliver results in group environments. And in fact, better results result from doing it as a group, as a collective with other people.
The Cleveland Clinic did the study on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we already know this, right? So if you're evidence-based as a practitioner, then the evidence clearly shows that group-based programs are more effective than one-on-one programs. And they're also a great business model because you can help more people because we're all doing this for impact, right? Josh, you and I both know there's easier ways we can make money with the business acumen we have, the connections we have, the experience that we have, like the masterminds and all the things that we've been through. We can make way more money doing other things, being involved in other industries, but we're not because we love helping people. And so if I want to help the most number of people, then it's not going to happen one-on-one. It's only way it's going to happen is in groups and then eventually stadiums. Yeah. Right. So that's what we have to understand is that in order for us to have the biggest impact, we have to make sure that we can produce results for people and we can do it at scale. And so those are the 5 criteria that I wanted to solve for. And then what we did is we solved for that. And that has more to do with the program being delivered. And then we had to solve another problem, which is how do we administer this through practitioners? And that's what we did with the Living Light licensing program. So now in 30 days, nobody can do it faster. Nobody can do it better. Nobody has more proof. Nobody has more data. Nobody has more results. Nobody has more case studies. Nobody has more coaches that they've trained in this system to deliver this than we have. So we've already built the entire ecosystem and taken all of the friction points that hold a practitioner back from delivering this into their communities immediately, is them making that decision. That's it. We eliminate all the risk for them.
The beauty of it, though, is like taking away the barriers and then the only barrier is yourself. It's like, yeah, you said saying yes, taking the action step and putting the shoe on and actually walking forward, right?
Yep.
That call to action it's always generally the hardest step because once you take that step, then all those other things, they're gone. There's nothing else to get in the way because I've been in your program for a while and I know a lot of other people have, like there was friction points because of all those other things that had to get built during the time. Mm-hmm. We were busy and this and that, and some people didn't make it, some people did. And all of a sudden it was just when this evolution came through, it was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. And it is evolved. It's been in this beautiful space. And this is where, and yes, if it's health coach or any mid-level provider, this doesn't have to be someone that makes $300 an hour to deliver a program, right? Mm-hmm. It can be done with the simplistic component of what we're talking about. And what I loved you said is it's lifestyle medicine, which should be the first line of therapy,
Yep.
which we've forgotten. This is the wisdom we're remembering back in a full circle space is, like you said, in blue zones and all these other places back in the day, like we didn't have all these modern conveniences. We did them, but now we naturally forgot, just like we've forgotten because we're in the age of information. Now we're moving into the age of intelligence, this innate intelligence in our bodies, this innate intelligence to heal and using those technologies. But the simplest, easiest technologies are the ones that you're teaching within this program, which allows us to have, like you said, impact, high impact, low economic impact that can change literally the landscape of healthcare.
Yeah. I mean, all I have to do is save somebody half a day in the hospital over the course of their lifetime, and it pays for the program. That's it. Those are the economics, right? If you can stay out of the hospital for half a day over the course of your lifetime, you've probably more than doubled your investment.
Getting people to understand the dynamic of that is really been a challenge for a lot of people because they want that instant gratification. Like, how much does it cost? And what is this going to happen? And it's like, like you said, we want to get you to where you can live vibrantly for as long as possible. And that infirmary time, like you said, is like, and I just want to drop off the planet. When my time is done, I'm done. I don't want to drag myself out. And I think a lot of people don't understand, well, there's a curve to get to that point, right? And like you said, it is timeless and priceless. What if this program is infinite, right? If you teach this to one person, they teach it to their families.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which they do.
my kids teach it to their kids. Like I call my kids organo baby experiments because right at the time where I was having children 11 and a half years ago, 15, 16 years ago was like my journey through health and wellness. And it was clean eating. It was doing these things right. My wife got pregnant. We wanted to do things in a different way. She was going through her own migraines. We solved them from an integrative perspective because all the specialists couldn't deal with it. But they grew up and it's like at 2 years old, they know what the organic symbol looks like. And now I kid with them like, hey, kids, you want to go to Burger King for dinner? And the first thing my daughter goes, Dad, no. And I'm like, why not? And she's like, they don't have clean meat. And I'm like, I love you. Like, it's just ingrained in them now. They just don't, it's not in their DNA to think about the French fry that they might eat that gets stuck in the driver's seat of their car that never decomposes, right? Not a good thing. So this is something that we can bring generationally as well to because this is the process, right? We've been programmed, eat because it tastes good, and then take these medicines to reduce your symptoms. You'll never get better, but you just take this stuff. Like if we're talking cures here, we're talking healing, reversing. I always just tell people in 10 weeks, we can reverse diabetes most of the time. Because diabetes is a lifestyle problem. It's not a diagnostic. Well, we know that there's some viruses and other things that can happen, but like in the majority of the cases, it's a lifestyle issue. Once it's addressed, can be reversed. And so
I agree.
This is why I love this conversation with you, is because I believe, and you can tell me from your angle, like from a practitioner perspective, a healthcare perspective, but mostly from a personal perspective, the people we talk to is they're also not very happy with the systems that are in front of them. They're searching for these things. They're looking to empower. They just need guides. And I think that's what you've been doing so well, eloquently done, is we become guides in people's journeys. Just like I say, the coach doesn't play the game. Your money back guarantee doesn't mean Sachin's going to do it all for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
The coach doesn't play the game. The player plays the game. So for when I say is like, if you go through this program, you'll get results. And I think this is an ism that you've had, is like, for the right person, it's priceless. And for the wrong person, it's worthless. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that money back guarantee shifts the philosophy around who's in charge, who's empowered. because that's the ultimate gift of this program for me. Even going through it myself, having like I'm an 80-20 guy. I'm probably not 90%, but I'm 80-20 most of the time. I'm doing really good. And even I went through it, and understanding the experience of after I went through it really jarred me into understanding how complex things can get in my functional brain to how simple it is to just do these things and do them with consistency, which makes all the difference in the world.
I agree. I think, I love what you just shared, and it's a reminder for me. Sometimes we forget the isms, the things that we share, and it's beautiful to have it reflected back. And I love that, for the right person, it's priceless, and for the wrong person, it's worthless. That's like one of my favorite quotes of all time.
I quoted you, my friend. It wasn't for me.
Because no, absolutely. And so that's what I'm saying. It's great to hear it reflected back, and to hear somebody else say it means that, the message is getting passed along, which I love. And I think it's important, for people to recognize that somewhere along the way, they were convinced that they're not worth it. Somewhere along the way. And for many people, they might have to go back to that point to figure out what that point was, where they became not the best investment in their life. I think that's ultimately what holds a lot of people back, is this little voice inside of them that they're not worth it.
I've said it in a different light so many times. Like, people have the right, the human right, the divine right to be vibrantly healthy. But I don't put healthy. I just say vibrantly healthy, because who wants to be healthy, whatever that means? Like, we're in a sick care system. So healthy sometimes means I'm just not sick. That's not vibrant health to me. I want to wake up with all the energy in the world. I want to go at it every day. I want to have great, like, body, mind, spirit, family, business, all of it. I want it all. I want to be whole. And like, that's what we're talking about. Everybody has that right. Everybody has that choice. Everybody has that inside them. And I think what you've said today has been lock it. I know we've got to wrap up here in a bit, but what I've known about you over the years is this thing called breath work struck you pretty hard, and you've now gotten to the place where it's a big part of your life. You teach a lot of practitioners. You travel all around the world with this thing called breath. So I want you to talk about your journey in breath work and what you do, but then I want to give everyone like a little practice here, like a little to do what they could do experientially, just so when they hear it or watch this, they can go one step further. Because this real part of my podcast is, what else can we do after this talk? Let's get out of thought and into doing. But I want you to talk about a little bit of your experience in breath work.
Okay, I'll still give you the 3-minute, 90 second to 180 second keynote.
Put you on the clock.
Breathing. So we take 23,000 breaths a day. The majority of them are unconscious. We breathe 30 pounds of air a day, which means that we consume more air in a day than food in a week. Our breath is the first thing that is celebrated when we're born, and it's the last part of our life that's celebrated when we move on and transition. However, in between, many of us are breathing unconsciously. I refer to the breath as the steering wheel of the nervous system. And just like you could drive to work unconsciously and get there without realizing all the turns you made and all the details, you can get through life without paying attention to your breath. And it's almost like driving without your hands on the steering wheel. So imagine having to drive to work without putting your hands on the steering wheel. That would end pretty quickly. That's how we are going through life if we're not paying attention to our breath. There's a breath for every single function in our body. And I can prove it to you, because the first thing that changes when somebody's emotional state changes physically is their breath. Mm-hmm. So if somebody is shocked, they gasp, right? If somebody finds something funny, they laugh. If somebody feels relaxed, they sigh, right? So we have these breathing signatures that is a window into the state of somebody's nervous system. But it's a two-way street, which means that if my nervous system is changing my breath as its inner state changes, what if I changed my breath? Could that change my inner state? And the answer turns out is yes. And the ancients have known this for as long as at least 5,000 years that it's been documented, but I'm sure they knew about it long before that. And now we just have the instruments and the interests to measure it. And so when I started learning about breathing and breath work, what I started understanding is that it's the lead domino in our health. So before you even get up and look at the sun in the morning, you've already started breathing. You've been breathing the whole time, right? But you've been doing that unconsciously. So immediately, as soon as we wake up and as soon as we come to our consciousness, the first thing that's always been there is our breath. So we can grab our nervous system by the steering wheel from the moment we wake up. And then periodically, when we need to check in with ourselves or change our state, we can tap into our breath and we can breathe with awareness and intention. When I was first introduced to breathing was many, many moons ago, and I thought, oh, this is so crazy. I associated breathing and breath work to meditation. What I help people do now, Josh, is I help them learn how to breathe when they're not meditating, when they're not doing quote unquote breath work like Wim Hof, which are all great different techniques. Elemental rhythm is what I'm trained in. My mentor is trained in Wim Hof, and he now teaches elemental rhythm, Giovanni Bartolomeo. And so the breath is something that is with us all day, every day. A simple thing that people can do to improve their quality of breathing and the state of their nervous system, they can do while they're sleeping. It's mouth taping. If you're not mouth taping at night, that's a great place for many people to start. If you already sleep with your mouth closed, it's an insurance policy. And if you don't, watch what happens when you sleep with your mouth closed and breathe through your nose while you sleep. It completely transforms the quality of your recovery and the quality of your sleep, the quality of your cognition, the quality of blood flow in your body, right? The quality of your sexual health. All of these things depend, and dental health and immune health, all of them depend on us breathing through our nose versus breathing through our mouth. And the majority of people breathe with their mouth open at night. So that's like a safe bet for most people to do. And it costs literally pennies a day to do it with some surgical tape. All you do is just place the tape vertically like this. And that's probably been one of the most life-changing things that we've had our clients do when it comes to breath. And then there's, of course, different advanced techniques that we can teach people to alter their state if they want more energy, if they want to feel more calm. There's ways that we can do that. And when you start looking at the breath through the lens of how it affects different aspects of our health, we start realizing that our breath and our lungs are closely tied to trauma and grief, which so many of us are carrying around. And when I made this connection, and it's a theory, and I'm sure somebody can measure this for me to prove it to me, but one of the worst things we can have a parent tell a child is to stop crying. When we tell a child to stop crying, the only way for them to stop crying is to stop breathing. And the only way for them to stop breathing is to hold their diaphragm very tightly against all the resistance that they're facing to release that energy through the cry. All right. So crying is a way that we self-regulate the nervous system. We always feel better as adults after we cry.
A good cry, right?
A good cry. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And so children are trying to regulate their nervous systems by crying. And we take that gift away from them and we bury it into their myofascial system. But in order for them to stop breathing, their diaphragm has to become really tight and stiff. And then it starts to develop trigger points. And when the diaphragm develops trigger points, now it doesn't move through its full range of motion. So the breath becomes short and shallow. Now, the short and shallow breath is the breathing signature of stress, the breathing signature of fight or flight, which is what most people might find themselves in throughout their day or even at nighttime if they're breathing through their mouth. So we have people who are perpetually in a sympathetic dominant state, even though there's no reason for them to be, simply because of the way they're functioning. Because the breath, just like the steering wheel in your car, if you steer it a certain direction, it's going to have a predictable direction that it's going to go in. And so if we are short, shallow breathers, because of this stored trauma, breath work helps us bring that trauma to the surface, because so the diaphragm has three functions, and I know I'm more than 90 seconds over here. The diaphragm has more than has three key functions. One is referred to as a second heart. Okay.
Yep.
Two, it's also a lymphatic pump. Some of your biggest lymph nodes are underneath your diaphragm. So it pumps your lymphatic system and acts as a piston to pump all of your internal organs. So if your breath is short and shallow, then you're not getting as much lymphatic flow as well. If your breath is short and shallow, your lungs and your diaphragm aren't assisting your heart as much as they could be to pump blood through your body. And the third thing the diaphragm does is it acts as a conduit of the myofascial system. So if you ever think of a spider web, right, we have the spider web that connects to all of the cell nuclei in our body simultaneously. It's called the myofascial system. It's one of the more recently discovered parts of our anatomy. We used to just cut through it when we did cadaver dissection. Turns out it's all connected. So imagine the spider web that goes through your entire body. And just like a spider web, if you just tap a spider web on one side, the whole web shakes, right? The spider from anywhere on the web knows that there's something in my web. So we have this same system in our body called the myofascial system. And the diaphragm is like the middle of the spider web, right? And that makes sense because it's a muscle that cuts across our body, and it's right in the middle of our body, right? So it would make sense that that's the center of our spider web. And so when we take people through different types of breathing cadences, it's like shaking the spider web, waking up, right? Those spiders, so to speak, those demons, so to speak, those emotions that are trapped in that system, and boiling them to the surface, bringing them all to the center, and then releasing them with the breath, right? Because, biochemically, what is the breath? It's the byproduct of metabolism, right? It's a byproduct of stored energy. And emotions are stored energy. They're just stored in the myofascial system. And that's when we start getting rid of pain that people thought they'd have to deal with for the rest of their life. Pain that medications wouldn't touch, that therapy and things like that wouldn't make a difference for. It's because it was emotional pain that they were holding on to. And so when we take people through breathing and teach them how to breathe properly, their myofascial system works better. So their emotional health improves as well.
I've never heard it explained like that. So I learned something today. Thank you. No, but it makes so much clear sense why, like mechanistically, why that all releases. Because, you always talk about releasing trauma and releasing these things and moving from, how do you release something that's energetic or in the space of an emotional component from a physical space? And it's like linking those three together through the myofascia, which I learned about through my wife's journey with her hips. Like it had to be there. So it was something I had learned about, but I never had put through the connection with how the breath work, as it is work, how it all connects into that space of releasing. So thank you. That was beautiful.
My pleasure.
I always learn something when I'm with you and holding space with you. Two last questions, then we'll wrap up here. We could probably go forever on the things we could talk about, but what does healthcare look like 10 years from now if we get this damn thing right?
Oh, man. That's a great question. I think what healthcare looks like is hospitals become a place where people gather in community to learn. Because we still have those buildings, we don't have to tear them down. We can use them. I've always said, there's amazing people doing amazing work in there, right? But they should have a lecture hall where the public can come and get educated on various topics related to health. It should be a university, spelled Y-O-U, right? People should come to learn about how to take care of themselves. I would say that I would love to see the education system teach children the fundamentals and the basics and actually have them practice it, right? Not just talk about it, but have them live it. It has to be health is a lived experience.
Yes.
Not something you read about in a book or watch on a YouTube video, or even, if you're watching a podcast, right? Like I mean, maybe you're walking, so you're applying what we're teaching you, or you're outside or something like that, whatever the case may be. But none of this time that we spend together makes any sense or has any value unless it changes a behavior. And so health is a lived experience. We have to live it. And so I want to see more people living and learning how to live and be healthy. I mean, think about when you had kids, did anyone teach you anything about how to take care of that baby from the very beginning?
No, they throw you in the mix, right? Like, here you go. Here's that thing you're supposed to love and care for the rest of your life, and good luck with that.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's imagine getting the keys to the most expensive car on the planet and nobody teaches you what the buttons are or what to push or what fuel to put in it, nothing. And you're just kind of left to your own devices. So I'd love to see that aspect change, right? Where, people even recognize, hey, I'm about to bring a new life into this world. Maybe I should take the most amazing care of myself, right? So I can build a healthy baby, not just have a baby, and then instill and impregnate all of this wisdom into them from the very beginning. Right? I would love to see that day come to fruition. And it's happening, right? I
Yeah.
think we planted the seeds in our children for that to happen. I want to see more people doing that.
Yeah, and I think it's like that, like again, the flywheel effect. Once there's like 20, I think I heard 27% is the number where
Mm.
things just perpetually now come. And
Yeah.
so you've been a
I think
big part of that in my life for sure.
one other thing I would add, Josh, if I may,
Sure.
be remiss not to say it, is that I believe health starts at home. So, I already see it happening. People are going to have more self-care tools and devices and, red lights or, all the things to help promote their health starting in their home, where it used to be that anything healthy, we had to go outside of the home. Like now we're seeing saunas come into people's homes, cold plunges, red lights, everything's becoming a lot more accessible and affordable. I think that's really happening, and I love to see more of that happen. And the third thing I love to see happen is children born with a functional genomic test. So my son, when he was about 2, we did some genomic testing on him to just really understand who he is, like what model car he is, so to speak. And that's been super insightful and helpful. It can be very deterministic in how to raise a child, understanding how they're at least genetically wired. And of course, epigenetics are the most important component, which is the environment we raise them in. But it's what if you had both, right? What would that look like? I'd love to see more parents, now that it's $350 or so to get your genome tested, that's super affordable for people to do. And that's actually part of what we offer in our program as well as genomic testing.
Yeah, you and I use the same test. It's you do it once and there's so much information.
Hmm.
And that's why I think what you said was beautiful wisdom is like, well, if you're going to do it early. Like, cause
Yep.
it's just, there's so much information that we can utilize. Cause yes, epigenetics is science now. It's not the genes don't dictate the health. It's the environment and what we do that health. But, and then I've read before, it's like, it's like the genes, what do they say? The genes,
Load the gun.
load
That
the
one.
gun. Yeah.
And the environment pulls the trigger.
And you hold the bullet.
Mm,
So
there you
I
go.
learned that the other day is like we hold the bullet. Like it's our choice to do these things, right? And
Mm.
so that's beautiful wisdom. I love this conversation. Where do people find you? Where can they work with you? What can they learn more about Sachin and what he's doing?
Yeah, well, thank you. If somebody's interested in working with us as a clinician, they can go to perfectpracticementorship.com. And if they're interested in, that's where they can learn more about our licensing program as well. And then if they're interested in working with us as a client going through the Living Light program, certainly they can work with Josh. But if people want more information about that, then they can go to mymetabolicreset.ca, and that'll take them right to that program page where they can learn more. They can watch a little mini video on the program, see some testimonials, and then schedule a free consult if they wish.
I love that. Amazing. And you can find his book. His book is
Yeah.
everywhere. And the book has a lot of that information we talked about in the program. And I loved it because I went through it the other day, just thinking about our conversation, and is like, oh yeah, I learned all this, and it's in our DNA to do this stuff. So
Mm.
I think these guides, man, you've done such a good job in, like, you say it too. I'm going to give like, being the product of your product, right?
Mm.
You epitomize health, wellness, wholeness, well-being. I've loved seeing your transition through this whole process and mine, and how we've gone along this journey together. I consider you a brother. You're amazing. Thank you so much for showing up in this world, putting a dent in the universe, and just being you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. What an honor, what a pleasure to, witness our collective growth, and to see that, we're together with, not just me and you, but the people who are listening to this, bringing that world that we all want to see into fruition. So thank you for holding space for it.
That was what a great show. I'm so glad that we got to do this. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Until next time, stay well. Thanks for joining me today on Beyond the Pills. If our mission to deprescribe 10 million unnecessary medications resonates with you, share this episode, subscribe, and leave a review. Whether you're a practitioner or someone ready to reclaim your health, visit rx2wellness.com for free resources to begin your journey. Together, let's go beyond the pills and co-create a world of vibrant health and true healing. Until next time, live better and stay well.